should we be assisting the French police on the French beaches by possibly deploying UK troops to assist tackle the migration issue? I'm Craig, a former British soldier, and we're just going to have a bit of a tactical review on how we could possibly prevent so many boats from crossing the English Channel. We've touched on this a little bit, but currently French law does not allow French police to intervene once the boat's in the water and the people are in the boat. They're looking at changing this as they see that this is a major issue, and they seem pretty stretched along the French beaches. I think they should also deploy French troops to assist with this, but they don't seem as bothered as the UK are because they're leaving France into the UK. Also, this isn't about just, people not coming to the UK, attacking everyone who comes to the UK. If you come to the UK legally, you're trying to seek a new country, then fair enough. But that's not the case with this. So what about, I've spoke about Border Force, Home Guard, Border Force, British Army regiment that literally specialises in military tactics, but also understands the law on, immigration and migration. So then they can make the arrests that are needed to be made, as the British Army isn't actually trained up on doing that. So you need like a specific regiment that is trained in that, and obviously how to speak to people, how to handle people, how to take on illegal immigrants. But what about, obviously, if we prevent the issue on the side that they're coming across from, so on French waters? So if we made a border force regiment within the British Army, so you get the military funding, the military equipment, the military training, the discipline, the reconnaissance, the surveillance, and then we've got all these operations going on around the world. You do an op on French beaches and basically tackle the illegal migrants who are come running off the beaches into the waters. So you're arresting more people on the French side. Obviously, this would need cooperation from the French, which we know isn't always happening at the minute, but they seem pretty stretched on their side. So, instead of taking them once they're in the waters or once they're in the UK, you actually prevent it on the French side. So you need more people patrolling the French waters and the French beaches. Tackle them on the beach, prevent them from getting into the water and into the boats, because obviously French law doesn't allow you to stop them or intervene once you're in the boat and in the water. So French police are saying, the day that 1,200 migrants made it across the English Channel on the Saturday, they prevented around 200 to 500 actually getting into boats. In the last 7 days, 400 have made it across in 6 boats. That was up until the 11th and the 7 days prior. But you need to prevent them getting into the boats. So why not deploy British troops to France? We've got a great relationship with France. We work very closely with French military. I've worked with them on many occasions. So why not do a joint operation, French and British, on the French beaches? To me, I feel like that makes sense. I'd love to know your thoughts on this, so please do comment below. But you need to set up, like I said, surveillance and reconnaissance to see where these boats are coming out the waterways onto the French beaches. So if you can pick them up earlier on, and then you can intercept the boats earlier on, you prevent that. And then you can, obviously, if you've got military personnel in OPs, so observation posts, looking out to see where the migrants are coming up, hiding in the beaches before they run out, you can then intervene again. And then you can also have actual personnel patrolling the beaches. A good number of, personnel patrolling the beaches, once again, acting as a deterrent, so they stop them running out. And if they do run out, you can then prevent them from getting into the water, because once you're in the water, that's the issue, okay? Because people are afraid that once they're in the water and you start intervening in the boats, you're going to get huge number of casualties. So it's all about preventing them from getting into the water. That's my thoughts. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this. We've got the British Army, the French Army, the police, they've got the kit and equipment. We could possibly get the numbers to do it, the personnel. They're trained in that. They're trained in reconnaissance, surveillance. It's a great deterrent. Fully kitted up, patrolling the beaches. getting into OPs, looking at where they're coming out from in the waterways, and then intercepting. That's my thoughts. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. But we've also got that Rachel Reeves has said that they're going to stop the asylum hotels. So she's going to be saving the taxpayers £1 billion a year. But obviously you wouldn't need that if you did the prevention. You know, you stopped them from actually coming into the country. If they come into the country, you know, legally, and they're trying to seek asylum, and you're trying to make a better life for you and your family, I actually have no issues with that. I've thought about going abroad before. It's just making sure you do it through the correct channels, not the English channel. So it's all about just making sure you do it through the correct channels. You know, you put your visas applications in, etc., and you do it that way. At the minute, obviously the country, we are struggling, cost of living, so why not use the British Army for the domestic help that they are there for. They're there for domestic and foreign help, you know, whether that's going to war or whether that's, you know, protecting the borders or whatever it is. So I think possibly deploying British troops with French troops onto the beaches. Do comment below what your thoughts are on that, and what you think of Rachel Reeves' statement with, you know, stopping the asylum hotels. I'm wondering, you know, how they're actually going to do that. I'd be very interested to know, you know, being able to return all these asylum seekers possibly home, the ones who have no right to be here, and then possibly the ones that do have a right, where you're going to house them once you've taken them out the hotels. I'd be interested to really know how that's actually going to work, and if it would work. Yes, but that's what's going on in the UK at the minute. Weather's getting good again. I think next week's going to be really hot, so we'll have to see what happens with the numbers that cross the channel. Keir Starmer said he's still trying to tackle the gains, you know, which I think you should, but why not get the army in to do it as well? Like I said, use these personnel to do something good, get them up and down the beaches, patrolling, gathering intelligence, gathering information, and then being a good deterrent. That's what I think is the best way of doing that. Make a border force regiment, assist the border force. They're most probably stretched thin as it is with the amount that are coming across. They're most probably struggling to sort of maintain and keep up the numbers. Plus, they have to go around the UK patrolling the, you know, the UK, kicking indoors sometimes for picking up people that are here illegally in homes in and around the UK. It's not just border force, you know, they work in obviously the airports. They're obviously down in Kent, having the major issues there with all the boats that are coming across over. You've then got them patrolling and going around the UK, picking up people who are illegally, you know, it's a tough job. There's a lot of people in the UK that technically shouldn't be here, so they are most probably stretched pretty thin. So bringing in the army just to assist with that. British Army most people don't want to do that. They most people want to sit at home, but they've got the kit and equipment, they've got the personnel that are trained, disciplined, etc. So I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I'd be very interested to know what you've got to say. But I think possibly a joint French op on their beaches could possibly assist and help with this. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon.